Hi and welcome to this video. This is going to be about how I got into DevOps. Now, full disclosure, I come from an IT operations background, not a developer background. However, when I was at college, and bear in mind this is a UK college, which is different from what we think about if you're from America. So college in the UK is 16 to 18 years old, and then we go on to university, which is in America what you would call college. Now, while I was at UK college, I was doing something called A-level computing, and I think it turned out we were one of the first groups in the entire country. I may be wrong, but this is what they told us at the time to do this, and it was basically first and second year computer science. We did a lot of programming and a lot of really hardcore computing stuff, so it was a lot of fun. And it's obviously where I met my good friend Ray, who then went on to do apprenticeships, and that's how I kind of got involved with IT. But I always had this programming background. I was a latecomer. You hear about these kids who start at age 7 and age 8. They've created their first app and they've sold it for $1 million. Look, I was late to the game. When I heard these people who are saying, "Oh, I can't do it. Everyone's been doing it since they're 12." Then look at me, I'm late starter. But I want to really stress that point that I come from IT operations, old school sysadmin, and I'm not a developer by trade, as it were. I do enjoy it. I like to think I'm good at it. You judge my code, but that's the point I try and stress here, because I hear a lot of people when they go into DevOps, they start panicking, going, "Oh my God, they're asking for some really quite, QA testing. And, what do you know about Java? And what do you know about this?" And I'm going, well, look, I did it and I'm operations. And this is what we're going to dive into in a bit. So to really kind of fast forward quite a few years, how I actually made the leap into DevOps. And there's a bit of a story behind this. So I was working for a small business. It was roughly 50, 60 employees. It was quite fun. It was near my house. So easy commute. It was brilliant, right? And effectively, we were doing DevOps stuff. We were working with developers. We were doing Agile. We'd moved from waterfall to Agile. DevOps, in reality, it is the practice of working closely with developers to speed up software development. People go on about this whole philosophy, you need to read entire books like the Phoenix Project and all that stuff. Yeah, it might be good, but I'm telling you honestly here, I was doing it. You're going to find out later, working with consultancies and even running my own. It's pretty much we sit with the developers and we help speed up software development. We take care of all the infrastructure problems they might encounter. I think it got to a point where I said, look, I think it's time for me to move on elsewhere. So I started having a look around. And this is what really kind of spurred that time to move into DevOps. What's coming up next could almost be a story time on its own. So what happened is I started applying for jobs, and bearing in mind, I didn't have the word DevOps in my job title. So if you see my video about job titles, absolutely true. This role was the one that just didn't have it in it, but I was doing DevOps. I was working with the tools, looking at implementing them, and also trying to bring the team and the entire company onto AWS. And I have been working with AWS before in project work I'd done myself and trying to create startups and obviously working with Ray on a couple of things as well. Fast forward, I then start looking for roles, and I'm looking for system administrator ones. And this was kind of like the first shot for me that obviously the market had changed. I saw a role and it was £22,000 a year. It wanted MCSE. If you're not familiar with the Microsoft certs, MCSE is kind of like at the top. It's like the AWS Certified Solutions Architect professional tier level of cert. And I'm thinking £22,000 a year, that's absolute trash. Who would take that? Unless you're desperate for the money, why would you even take that job? That's just disgraceful. The fact they're going to try and make you work, and they wanted an on-call 24/7. And I thought, okay, maybe this is a fluke. So I have a look for more roles around my area, and it's a similar thing. £25,000, system administrator, Linux, okay, cool. But the salary's not great, right? It's gone down. I'm earning more at this current role than what I would be there as a sysadmin. And I hadn't quite made the switch yet for DevOps. Fast forward, I think it was a month or two later, I'm one of those people, I want to climb, I want to earn more money, but I also want a bigger opportunity. So I look at a role for a solutions architect. And I thought, well, we'll give it a try. At the time here, I had sat my AWS Certified Solutions Architect exam because I was working with this project. I had quite a bit of experience on my own personal stuff I've been working with, and I passed it and I thought, brilliant, why not have it? What Amazon have done, I think, is absolutely amazing. I think by giving the cert such an awesome name, it just incentivizes you to take it, makes you feel absolutely awesome. I mean, how cool is that to kind of whip in and say, hey, look, mate, AWS Certified Solutions Architect. Even though it's kind of like the entry cert everyone does, it just sounds awesome. And I think Amazon, full credit to you, that was an awesome move. So I'd like to see more certs like that, please. Keep up the awesome names. Fast forward, I go for this role. Bit of context, I'm near London, or just outside, near Heathrow Airport. And the role I was taking was up in Milton Keynes, which is roughly 60, 70 miles away from me. I was honestly looking at saying, okay, look, I'll even relocate to come up here. It sounds like an interesting role. And like I said, this is a whole story time. This is like another really trashy interview. But one thing I will take away from this, and I keep saying it to anyone who's doing interviews with clients, right? Or bringing on a candidate. If you've got someone who said they are traveling from a long distance and they will be driving, just please get a visitor parking space for them, because this is what happened there. Some lady turned up, she got really angry at me. Anyway, I said, it'll be a whole separate drama story. I turned up there, and the guy interviewed me, really nice guy, but unfortunately when it came down to it, at the end, as they said, you seem too young. Like, you've got the experience, you know what you're talking about, you're clearly passionate, you're great. We just think you're too young, just by your look. Looking at things like touch of grey, put a few grey hairs in and stuff, make myself look a bit older, a bit of makeup or something, what might work. Never put your age in a CV. Because I hear that's something a lot of people get rejected on, is age discrimination. I might even do an entire podcast. I'll get in touch with Ray, because he goes for it a lot more than me, because he's going for much higher roles like tech lead and CTO level. He often hears a lot, oh, you're too young, you're too inexperienced. And we keep joking about what we'll do is we'll put some stuff in our hair to put a few greys in and maybe put a bit of stubble or something, make us look really old. So anyway, digress. So this is my kind of first knockback, and I'm going, look, there's crap salaries here for sysadmins around me, and this is, kind of looking around London area as well. I may be wrong, look, you may be earning 60 grand as a sysadmin. I thought, cool for you, mate, but at the time I was looking, didn't exist. Max is probably about 27, 28 grand a year, and I went, look, that's just not worth it for me. Fast forward, I've been rejected from that role, I'm too young. But what did happen is I made an announcement on LinkedIn saying, look, I've just passed my AWS Certified Solutions Architect. I think it was a day or two later, a recruiter got in touch with me and said, I've looked at your profile. Can you have a quick call with me? And I call him up and say, yeah, what do you want to discuss? Well, look, what's your background? I said, look, I'm working with AWS here. I'm doing some stuff with Docker. I've had a look into Jenkins, trying to get that involved. I'm working a lot on automation, scripting. And they say, what's your developer background like? And I said, well, look, I'm not a developer. I'm a sysadmin. I've been doing lots of sysadmin work, maintaining Linux servers, maintaining Windows once. Before that, I was a Apple system administrator. I have a really crazy career history, and I've always taken on challenges. The recruiter was really good, and she said, look, I've got a role for you coming up. It's a DevOps role. And I imagine, like a lot of you, when you first look at new roles, or even like go into a different area of IT, I want to take a moment to say, I understand, empathize with you. It's really quite hard talking to non-IT people when you go, look, I'm moving into a different area or I'm doing something else, because from the top of my mind, I can't think of many other professions where you might do that. For example, a mechanic might go from car mechanic to, let's say, a lorry or specialist HGV mechanic, and that's a whole new discipline. Whereas in IT, it almost seems quite common that maybe every 2 to 3 years, we might even be swapping completely. Or like we say, IT moves in 5-year cycles. And it's in the DevOps one, soon to be coming up either to the start or the end of 5 years. Can't remember which way around it is, but I think it's coming up to the start of that 5-year cycle. And after that, it's going to be interesting. In fact, I might even do an entire podcast on that, because I think that's going to be really quite wild where it's going to start going. But anyway, we're digressing here because this is the story. This is how I got into it. I've gone from sysadmin, and now I'm getting told I'm going to do DevOps, and I'm starting to panic, right? It's not the ops part I'm worried about, it's the dev part. And they give me this list of requirements. I understand what you're going through if you see something like this, because look, here's me going, yeah, I've got some Linux, Windows, scripting, that sort of stuff. Then you're seeing Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, CloudFormation. You're just seeing this huge list of like specs and requirements they want. But rest assured, the recruiter, she told me, said, look, what we're trying to do is like a scattergun or just like a giant net. They're just trying to get anyone who kind of fits any of these requirements in. And I'm panicking here going like, look, I've got maybe about 2 or 3 of these things on here. What I do is I go back and start looking into stuff like ASAP, like try and learn as much as I can. But, obviously I had the phone interview literally the next day. So I speak to one of the engineers. I'll never forget, because I did actually meet the guy. He never said, oh, you're the guy who did my phone interview. So what happens is the guy calls me up and asks me this question. And look, full disclosure here, right? I'm panicking because, if you've ever taken a phone interview, it's kind of nerve-wracking. But also when you're in your employment building, like you can't just pop out somewhere easily to take a call. So I ran down into one of the meeting rooms, and the line and the reception was pretty awful. He asked me, how much does an SSL cert cost? And obviously, I completely misheard him, right? Because I thought that's what he was asking, SSL cert. And I overly confidently went, well, I just brought one today on, literally 5 minutes before this call. I just brought one with global sign, and it cost £120 or whatever it was. He said, no, TLS on AWS. I went, oh, I've got no clue. What was it, 120 quid? And he goes, no, they're free of charge. I won't let him know that he did my phone interview because he'd probably regress and be like, I can't believe I let this guy on. But he was a really nice guy. And even though it was all completely new to me, I did my best. Unless you're giving it 100%, don't feel bad. You did your best. And that's what I did. I heard back and they said, how do you think you did? And I said, well, I think I got most of the questions right, at least 5 out of 10. Most of it was good. The feedback was good. They said, you gave us the right answer, maybe not the one we were looking for, but the fact you absolutely tried to answer absolutely everything, took really good guesses and explained stuff to us and why you would use this over that. And even one of the things was an issue we were facing at work at the time, so I was able to explain in really good detail, showing that passion, that knowledge, and, even though I wasn't great at some of the stuff, like I'd never used Ansible. So when it was like, now I've got a few questions on Ansible, I don't even know what it is. Needless to say, got through somehow. Then fast forward, they then called me in for a face-to-face. I'm kind of liking my job here. I've kind of had second thoughts, I'll settle, it's all right, it's not that bad, what's the worst that can happen? Anyway, they call me up and say, we can book you in for a time slot at any time you want because we really want to get you on board. They are pulling out all the stops. Normally candidates get told, you turn up at something like 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, and that's it, no negotiation. But for me, they actually gave me time slots. I said to work, I'm going to leave. I'm leaving in a month's time. Somehow, all the times and all that, it worked out that the next day after I left would be when I would do the interview. So that was quite nice. Take that from an employee. I actually had nothing lined up apart from this phone interview. That was it. So I was taking a massive, massive leap of faith going for this role. I go there and I meet 2 awesome people. One of the DevOps engineers who unfortunately shortly left after I joined the project, but the other one was the head of the business unit. And I think he also left again shortly after I started, but I just want to say they are 2 awesome guys. And again, this role was with Capgemini. And it was really quite interesting because, again, we hear with developers that they have to do like code assignments and stuff. And this wasn't the case. This was something that I got told that lots of people get really panicked about, which was whiteboarding exercises. I can talk for England. You can probably tell by my videos, I love talking. So much so I can almost give myself a sore throat by just talking too much. So I loved it, right? You give me a pen and a whiteboard and, I was going away. I was taking it to town. Because I was looking at migrating the company over to AWS, there are some questions. And I thought, I'm going to be very respectful here. There are NDAs in place. I'm not going to go into key trade secrets. But so I really generalized it. I said, look, we have servers, not what they do, what they are, but servers. And we have DB. So I'm keeping it super generic like that and saying this would be my plan of how I would get us onto AWS. And I called it the 3-phase migration plan. I don't know whether it sold them because the 2 people I had in there was one a DevOps engineer and secondly, it was the head of a business unit. Both fantastic people. So right now, pretty much, I've had this phone interview, I've had the face-to-face interview, and I'm waiting to hear back now. They said, yes, you've been accepted, but there's a caveat. You've got to wait 6 weeks before you can actually start. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. What do you mean 6 weeks? I've left my job. Unfortunately, with Capgemini, they were like, no, unfortunately, we have this whole onboarding process and you have to go through this whole event and all this. And unfortunately, it's 6 weeks' time. So I waited it out. Now, at this point, I wasn't told about the role, project, or anything. They said it really depends where you're going to end up. And this was the big problem I had. To add more fuel to the panic, I didn't know where I was going, what I'd be doing. So do I learn Ansible? Do I learn CloudFormation? Do I learn Terraform? And look, the overwhelm was just absolutely crazy. And again, this is why I empathize with engineers, right? I'm going to stop here for a second and say this. I've come from the perspective of a consultant. I was overwhelmed with what I was doing. This is why I kind of turned my focus to creating courses that were short and fast, right? 30-hour deep dives. What would be the point? In my case, I had a phone interview overnight. I didn't have time to go for a 30-hour deep dive. And there's probably some weird person out there who say, yeah, what do you mean you couldn't go for a 30-hour deep dive in less than 24 hours? I'd say, look, mate, that's not what I need to do. And that's why I really, created Walk 9 to say, look, I want to teach people technology as fast as possible so they can just hit the ground running. So if you've got a phone interview in an hour or like 2 hours or even like the next day, right, you can probably get through 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 courses. If you've really had a push, you could really do it. And you'd be an expert going in there, right? Versus, I watched a 30-hour deep dive on Docker and now I need to learn Kubernetes, Ansible. So look, I empathize. That's genuinely the reason I said I want people to learn fast and be brilliant at technology. So that rant aside, I finally joined and the induction's pretty cool. We're all kind of going, what the hell's going on here? Meeting some people, there's networking. We're all like, what the hell is going on here? Everyone else had designated badges, like you'll go into this project and you'll go to that one. And I think there were 4 of us who just had this like very generic like beige badge. It was a single word and it was just something like project or something. We're just like, well, where are we going? And it's like, we'll turn up to Holborn in London tomorrow. So we had some interviews, and this is kind of the weird thing with consulting. You have to do interviews with a client. I thought, well, hold on, I've just done an interview. What do you mean I've got to do another interview? So this office was whisper quiet. They gave us like these Skype headsets. I just remember this lady kind of poking her head out. I was in this booth thing. She's like looking at me like, keep the voice down. I'm like, lady, look, where can I take this call anywhere else? Like, there's no meeting rooms. They're all booked up. There's no desks. And I see these booth things and I'm like, I'm taking the calls. And somehow I passed that interview as well. I got through. The client were like, yeah, we really like you. You sound really good. So that now gave me some direction now. Because, again, this overwhelm was kicking in. Go, what am I doing? My friend, on the other hand, he had a kind of interesting time. New to MacBook Pros. And there was something wrong with his connection with the headset and stuff. So as he's taking the call, the whole thing's like loudspeaker. That lady was straight away on him like, excuse me, you got to stop that right now. So anyway, interviews and panic, it's stressful, right? Especially if you don't know what you're doing, where you're going. Like, it's all going so fast. I mean, literally this thing of like joining and like Holborn the next day. And by the way, you're doing an interview at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon for a DevOps role. Thinking, I just did an interview 6 weeks ago, right? And like, what am I interviewing again for? So they found a client and they said, look, there are some requirements, but we can't bring you on immediately. I think it was like rolling some people on and off and stuff, and something was happening. So they said, you're going to have to spend at least the next 8 weeks waiting to start. And I thought, brilliant, can I at least get some guidance on what I need to learn? And as you can imagine, I got this huge list of like, learn this, learn Gradle, learn Maven, learn this, learn that. And I'm just going, look, this is all like really dev focused. I'm really starting to panic now, going like, oh my God, I've quit my job. I knew what I was doing. I'm panicking now. I've got to learn all this stuff. I thought, brilliant. Udemy it is. Again, this is why I make my courses, right? I want to make them fast. I'm a consultant. Capgemini said to me, look, you're a free agent right now. Why don't you come up and help other projects? Yeah, what can I do, right? What's the worst that's going to happen? There's not much I can do. I'm sat at home. Cool, let's go ahead and do it. Again, this is where part of the problem came in Udemy courses and stuff. Like, they were just really, really long for some of the stuff I needed, like top bestseller, 30 hours and stuff. And I was just like, this is why I make my courses, because as a consultant, right, you're getting told, oh, you're going on a project tomorrow. What do you know about Kubernetes? I haven't got time for a 60-hour deep dive, and I haven't got time to read a book, and I'm trying to find stuff on beginner, right? I had no idea what Kubernetes even was, and I'm getting told, oh, you've got a project with it tomorrow. Now, if you've come from my Kubernetes course and you heard the intro, well, this is the story again, and this is what happened. I left Capgemini, right? Because I'm here right now, right? I'm not there. One of the things I loved was the projects, and this, honestly, and look, I'll have to get in touch with Capgemini. I'd love to help. There's some sort of referral link. I will get in touch with them and see what we can do to help you. If you're looking for your first job, I mean, look, they were awesome. I had never been sent away for a project, and the first thing they said is you need to come up to Telford. Now, again, I live near London, and Telford is just north of Birmingham. It's near, I think there's like not a border town, but like Wales is very nearby. And it's just north of Birmingham. It's pretty cool. I liked it up there. It's very nice. Capgemini called me up. They said, we're going to put you up in a hotel, but you're going to help on these projects. And I went, cool, let's turn up and see what happens. True story, right? And again, if you've seen the Kubernetes course in the intro, you know where this is going. I've been with Capgemini for I don't know how many weeks at this point, right? I've been on the bench, meaning not really knowing what I'm doing. I'm in between assignments. So it's kind of like, well, this is now you're onboarding and stuff. It's all kind of a weird transition period. Now it comes to big stuff. Hey, we've got a Kubernetes project. Can you come and give us a hand? Again, never heard of Kubernetes. And now I'm looking for Udemy courses going, okay, what do I need to do? Like, how do I get started? What am I looking at? What they say to me is say, look, we need a node auto-scaling solution. Now, this is before EKS was a thing. I think this time wasn't even in a beta, or it may have been, I can't remember, but it was a reason why we couldn't use EKS, because that was my first thought. I looked it up and went, let's use that platform, right? So there is actually a pod you can set up by Google that will automatically work out the auto-scaling, but you have to set up the nodes and all the rules in a specific way. Now, I can't tell you who the client actually was, but it was working. And again, I thought this was really cool at Capgemini, that they had lots of teams of specialists. So they had like one team that did just Kubernetes, one team that did Ansible, one team that did Puppet, one team that did monitoring and alerting, and of that you'd have like someone who did Splunk, you'd have someone who would do Zabbix. I thought that was awesome. Like, you just knew if you went to, like, they split everything up. But anyway, I got assigned to this, what effect was the client team, but they were also referred to as the Kubernetes team. Again, they're like, but like, we don't know how this is going to work. And by the way, we've been trying for 4 months to get this working. Can you have a look into it? Panic's really kicking in here, right? So again, I've never used Kubernetes. No one's been able to sort this out for 4 months. no real guidelines apart from use this pod, like what's a pod? So yeah, it was really quite stressful at that time. I started learning about Kubernetes, right? How do I set up a cluster? Well, there weren't really any courses on that. So I had to then start trawling through blogs and stuff, and I found out about COPS. And I then go ahead and set up my cluster with COPS. Right, now what's a pod? Now I started going through some Udemy courses. I did find some that were shorter, so I was having to pick knowledge from there. So at the same time, now trying to set up production-ready clusters and auto-scaling and all this stuff. Look, it was scary. I was panicking. It was just all over the place and kind of getting pressure going, hey, we kind of need this delivered soon. So how soon can you get it done? And again, this was the inspiration for that Kubernetes course. I'm so glad I made it because this is the sort of thing I would have wanted. And if you're looking about Kubernetes, definitely check out my Kubernetes course because I'm going to take you right from the ground up, the absolute basics to how we set up production-ready clusters. I'm telling you now, I would have loved that course because that would just cover everything I needed to know to set up what I needed for the end user. Granted, the auto-scaling bit, we could have used EKS, but this pod, it was a bit of a specific kind of janky sort of setup. But it worked. I mean, it did work. I did prove it. And I did get it working in 2 weeks, which, for me, I remember celebrating in Pizza Express with a nice beer because I managed to get it working. Unfortunately, I was on my own there, so quite a lonely celebration. But really, that is how I broke into DevOps. And then very quickly, I got told, right, the client can now accept you. Something about their onboarding process or whatever it was. So I went to client site. Yeah, it could be a drama show in itself. I mean, that could be a whole special. But needless to say, I started dotting around different projects, different teams, really started to build up my DevOps experience now. And then finally, I got assigned to another project because I think they had some engineers leaving or they were trying to start this new project up. I said yes, I'd love to do it. So I got transferred onto it and it was the best thing I ever did because from there, I think that's just the career-changing moment I had. I truly felt like a DevOps engineer at that point. I was working with Jenkins, I was working with Docker, Kubernetes, got introduced to Terraform for the first time. So we had one of our first things, hey, can you set up production-ready Kafka with Terraform? Sure, how hard can it be, right? Because think of the confidence boost, right? Just thinking possibly a year ago, I'm panicking here as a DevOps engineer who's never even done it, getting told, can you set up this Kubernetes stuff? I felt invincible, just bring it on. What I've learned a lot throughout consultancy is deep dives just aren't really worth it a lot of the time. There are niche cases, or if it's like a development course, kind of make an exception with that. If you're covering lots of topics and split into it, so you might have an entire 2-hour section on navigation and another 2-hour section on how to use this particular API, exception to the rules there. But most of the time, if you're like me, you're going look, I need to learn Docker or I need to learn Terraform because, hey, I've got a client here who next week saying, can you set up production-ready clusters? And I'm going, okay, what Terraform course have I got? And they go, well, we've got a 6-hour thing here. And just going, well, look, I need speed, I need to get from 0 to max. Oh, by the way, it's with AWS. Well, sorry, the course is in Azure. So again, you can probably tell a lot of my experience of making these courses is coming from my experience of being that engineer, just going I need to learn fast. I got client requirements. So that's kind of the inspiration. It's kind of what led me on to making these courses, but also the true story, how I got into DevOps. Like I said, I took a massive leap of faith leaving, and I was quite comfortable in that job. Paid well, I was looked after, but I knew I had to spread my wings. I think my time came, and it did, and I landed at Capgemini. Stroke of fate. But I took that AWS cert, and I highly recommend if you're going to do one, you want to break into DevOps. I could do an entire video on how to get into it. This is my story, how I did it. I absolutely recommend just Solutions Architect. Just learn about it. It's going to help you so much. Like I said, if you've got any questions about how you can get into DevOps, leave them in the comments because what I'd love to do, like I say, is a video. Go through some of those questions, try and find some of your pain points. What are you worried about? What stresses you out about it? What is holding you back from taking that leap of faith? I want to help you out because like I said, I've made the journey, I've done it myself, and I want to help you do the same. So that wraps up this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.